was a movie, and it started now, forget about whatever financial disasters you've had, personal failures, relationship failures. What would the hero of your life's movie do right now?
Hello and welcome to Dads Dating After a Divorce, the only podcast helping us dads to traverse the very interesting, fun, wild, and what other adjective, Dallas, could we throw in there? Surprising world of dating after divorce. My name is Jude Sandoval. I am the founder of The Divorced Advocate, and my co-host is Dallas Bluth, the founder of Black Box Dating. Dallas, how are you doing?
Doing fabulous, Jude. Let's do this.
Good, man. Yeah, we talked last week about status, which I thought was really an interesting topic. And we got more downloads last week than ever before. So it must have struck a chord with some of the dads listening. And while we were talking in that podcast, about status, one of the things we hit on was about dads and the actual status that they bring to the dating pool, which a lot of us don't think about. And then you asked me a question, and I don't remember precisely what the question was, but my answer had to do with about how one of the first women I dated after divorce literally just remembered a conversation from days before. And that to me was like the best thing in the whole world. Like my standard had been depleted, I would say. I wouldn't say my standard was low, but my standards had been depleted so low that was the bar that way. Was like, oh my gosh, this is great. She just remembers that I said something 3 days ago. And then that just got me thinking this whole week. I know you guys really want to know why I come up with these podcast episodes and lay these groundworks. Dallas is looking at me like, let's just get on with it. But it's, it's kind of the mindset into the guys, Dallas, right? To the dads that are listening. But it got me thinking this week because I was scheduled to go on a date this week and she canceled like last minute, like hour and a half before. And she's like, "Oh, let's schedule blah blah, reschedule blah blah blah." And I just said, "Hey, I think our values on time and respect are completely different, and I'm just not interested, right?" And so because those are my values, right? They had nothing to do, maybe. And I said that. I just said that I think it's different. No harm, no foul. I wish you the best of luck. But once upon a time, that when like you discussed, I would have just been okay with that. I would be fun. I would just let that happen. And that's not okay. Let me just be clear. Canceling an hour and a half before a date that you scheduled well in advance. Like it messed up didn't mess up my whole day, but there were so many other things I could have done in that time frame that I could have scheduled because I have kids. I had my kids on that day. Like it was a busy weekend. So that got me thinking too. And then we had a conversation after the last episode about all these doubts, right? That us dads have in this. And so what I wanted us to talk about today are those doubts about primarily like, am I damaged goods? Is anybody going to want to date me again? There's this myth out there about that nobody wants to date. Women don't want to date dads with kids or men with kids or dads, right? That we are failures because our marriage ended. So I want to talk about that. And the second part of that, most importantly, I want to talk about how we can help the dads get to that point where they really embody and feel like that they do have that value and they can walk away. Like she's pretty hot, right? Like the woman I was just like, no, I'm sorry. Our values misaligned here. Like feeling comfortable. And I feel perfectly comfortable. I'm like, it's okay. That's fine. But I learned the hard way. So I want you guys to I learned the hard way by actually getting involved with these, like somebody that's misaligned with my values and then having it be a nightmare and mess. I want to talk about how we can get them to get past that.
Yeah.
Initial thoughts.
Yeah. So initial thoughts is it's not just dads, it's everybody. It's all single men. I know dads have a particular set of voices in their head that are saying certain things that, and we'll address those specifically. But I just want to welcome all the single dads into the single men group. You're welcome here. You are just like the rest of us. We all have doubts. And any guy that looks like he's not doubting himself at all because he's giving off this bravado, he's giving off, these airs of, being super dominant in an environment, like he's at the top of the food chain. Yeah, that's a mask. He is covering up a lot of insecurities. All of us live with insecurities. And the only people that are not living with insecurities are people that are not on the edge of their life. Mm-hmm. If you're playing it super safe, if you're playing lots of video games,
you're in your basement playing video games, eating Cheetos, watching porn. Yeah, pretty much.
You're not on the edge of your experience, of your journey, of your own hero's journey in the masculine archetype. When we do that, when we go out of the safe zone, which is the world of dating, the world of interfacing with women, we are going to face insecurities. This is natural. This is good. This is actually an indication of us being on a good path. And I know I'm jumping right into the deep end, but let me just share one of my favorite quotes of all time.
Okay.
Joseph Campbell. He was a wonderful
storyteller,
apologist and comparative religion professor in New York. One of his favorite ones, and he's actually the one that came up that really made clear the hero's journey archetype. Yep. Yeah. Mm-hmm. One of his quotes that I love is, "The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek."
Yeah, that's good.
So it's one of those, the dragon is in the cave. You don't want to go into the cave to slay the dragon, but the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. And again, I just want to make it clear, it is normal to have doubts. It is normal to have fears. And all of that is there to nourish us and grow us stronger as men. I just want to start with that.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, because that actually falls right in line with the first thing I wanted to talk about, which is kind of this scarcity mindset we get into during divorce and then post-divorce, because our world shrinks so much during a marriage. Like, if you've been married, you kind of were just the family, you were really focused, you maybe had your friends, and so that world gets so much smaller, and then you get divorced. And it's almost like Survivor, where you get voted off the island, and then you're like, shoot, what do I do? And so your point is very, very important. Is like, all right, guys, now that those caves, that world, like, you got to get back out into it, out of the basement, put the Cheetos down, like all of that stuff to get back and become alive, really. And I think, I don't want to get into too much of the solutions, because I want to talk some of this, but I think that was one of the things for me that really started to help, was getting out there, finding new hobbies. And we'll talk about this. Getting involved with other men was a big one. Getting realigned, if you will, with my masculine nature, and then starting to ignite that again. But before, so I think that's absolutely, like, so guys, just know it's not just us dads that are dealing with this. Even if you can think back pre-marriage, you probably had some doubts and questions and stuff too before. You just forgot all of those from however long before it was.
And now as a single dad, you have some new ones. You got some new doubts that you get to play around with. It's a whole new game that you get to do.
Ending.
And let me tack on another piece. Women go through just as much, and in a lot of cases more, insecurities and doubts than men do. Women experience more insecurity in the world, particularly physically, than men do. It is as much as it is an uphill battle for men, it is at least as much an uphill battle for women. Yeah. So just realize, like, we're all struggling through this. We're all coming from the same place. There's no need to make the task more difficult by heaping shame or guilt or weird stories onto ourselves that we're somehow defective because we have these challenges. No, That makes you in the game just like everybody else. And this is part of the fun of it is how this plays out and what we discover along the way.
Yeah. I was on a date one time and I had a woman show up. She was clearly nervous. And then she just first, like outright, the first thing she said, she just said, I just want to recognize the fact that like, this is kind of, first date things are weird and really, really nervous. And it was such an endearing thing for her to say. And like immediately, like that was such a vulnerable thing to do and to say. And it automatically broke the ice. We had just a great conversation. It was really nice. She wasn't a match, but like I to this day think back, I can remember where we met, where we were sitting. I think I even remember what I drank, and I was like, this was so cool. She just opened up about, hey, I'm really, really nervous about this, and it got us talking about exactly that, kind of some of our nerves and our divorce and how our feelings and what we were talking about there. So yeah, that's a great point. Just know, guys, like none of us have it all together. Dallas and I talk about it like we know, like Dallas does know more than I for sure and is much better at this, but like we talk about like what we know, but we all have our challenges and our doubts and all that. We just need to walk through it. And none of us are damaged goods. We're just all working through an experience. And so I want to talk about that continue to break down that damaged good mindset, because the next part, our world is shrunk. The next part is oftentimes we will project our ex's reasons for leaving onto the entire female population. Right? And so here's the thing. Just because one person didn't want the dad version of you does not mean that there aren't other women out there and that there isn't a market for you out there. So I just want that to be clear too.
Jude, can you give us maybe a concrete example of this?
Of guys projecting something
that your ex-wife said about you, believed about you, rejected about you, whether it was true or not, that you carry with you into the dating market, that you're then projecting, and you assume other women are going to see you and reject you for the same reasons.
Oh, well, the example that nobody's going to really care about me enough to listen that I used last week and earlier was one that I was like, that was a wake up. That was just something I had accepted, right? That
they don't listen,
right? That they're not going to listen to me, that they don't really care. But what the source of that was my codependency of that I got to give something in order to get love back. Like I did not believe that that somebody could just listen to me and accept me for who I was and what my feelings were, and was interested in that. So I went into, because I didn't do the work and I didn't spend the time going through the seasons and understanding the relational dynamic that was part of the reason why the marriage ended, in just going and continuing those things on. And so what you always talk about in really getting clear about yourself and knowing how you're going to show up and how you're going to be present and knowing that stuff is really incredibly important. So you don't project all of that stuff onto the rest of the population. You don't, because I always joke, if there's going to be one person that's in the room that's going to, and actually this I think is a pretty good general rule. I joke about it, but if there's one person in the room, and I'm going to state it this way: if there's one person in the room that is going to attract you, it's going to be the person that is energetically aligned with whatever it is that you're not comfortable in your body with, right? And you're going to perpetuate that relational dynamic, because the energy is the same, right? You're attracted to that same energy. And so that's why you've got to stop and you've got to do really the work and not say, oh, well, it's her. Like you're going to find that person because that's the energy, right? But it's not the right person for you.
What's the expression that they like to say in couples therapy? You marry your unfinished business.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is you coming back to that unfinished business, and for whatever reason, still being attracted to it.
Exactly.
I think there's a lot of truth to that. Let me come back to the point you were making about how you feel rejected and kicked out as a man when you go through a divorce. Mm-hmm. Because not just divorce, I feel that this happens socially in general. Two people break up. Women are I think have it a little easier in being welcomed back into social circles more than men, particularly unless the woman's done something really egregious. I mean, she's totally slept around on you, set your car on fire, unless she's done like truly horrific, visible things. And clearly you're a good guy, and she's just been like, going crazy on you. Generally speaking, and maybe this is different inside of tight-knit friend groups. This is probably a little different. But for example, like if you're both like friends with your neighbors on the block, it's going to your dynamic in that social circle is the woman is going to tend to be welcomed in, to be protected, to be taken care of. That's sort of just the social norm that we have. With the dude, it's like, yeah, too bad you couldn't get your stuff together. Too bad you couldn't make this work. You're going to get invited second at best at this point. Yeah. We're not going to be, quote unquote, taken care of socially the same way that women are. Yes. So that leads to that feeling like you're rejected, feeling like you're in the doghouse, feeling like you've been kicked out in the cold. And it sucks. Like it totally, totally sucks. Yeah. And I know maybe we're just mixing together some of the techniques with some of the challenges, but I just want to throw out the technique for this one. Okay. So when we feel like we're being rejected, that is a passive way of looking at that. Something is happening to me. People are no longer inviting me. People are seeing me a certain way. I'm being told that I have to leave. All of these things are happening to me, and I'm reluctantly having to conform and go along with what the world has decided for me. That is like the most basic recipe for feeling powerless that a man could possibly have. Mm-hmm. The way to turn that around, and this is actually what I talk with my clients about, if things aren't working with a woman, we need to be the man to let ourselves out. And I even say this in a physical sense, if you need to have a difficult conversation with a woman, I suggest that they do it at her place rather than at yours. Yeah. Because somebody has to leave. At some point, somebody has to get up. And if it's in winter, somebody's got to go out into the cold and the dark. If you're doing it at night, get into a car. Somebody has to face all of that. Right. Personally, and this is just on an instinctive level, I never want a woman to have to do that. Even if we are done in a relationship, I don't want her to feel like I'm kicking her out. I don't want her to have to leave my place and go out in the cold. I don't want her to feel like she's lost her shelter and her safe place, emotionally, physically, and otherwise. I'm the man. I can go build another hut and gather more firewood and start it, scratch it out from scratch again if I have to. Like, that's me. That's part of my identity. That's what I'm like. So I want to be the one that is leaving her place. I'm letting myself out. I'm not kicking anyone out. I am letting myself out. But I'm choosing to leave on my own terms. Right. I'm not waiting to be rejected and said, Dallas, get out. You're not welcome here. I need to recognize, I need to see the paint on the wall, the writing on the wall, and say, I need to leave. This isn't the right fit. And when I choose to leave and go somewhere new, socially, physically, romantically, when I choose to do that, I'm no longer in a passive place where things are happening to me and I'm feeling powerless. Mm-hmm. I'm now making the difficult decision, like you had in the example here at the beginning of this episode. This woman rejected you, in a mild way by canceling, by canceling on you. She mm-hmm. was rude by doing it only an hour and a half before when, okay, maybe if you're 21 or 22 in college, this doesn't matter, nearly as much, but you had to carve out time in order to see her. Well, you're making the very difficult decision of pruning, of chopping off, it sounds like a very attractive woman, a very attractive option. You're making the tough choice of saying, this is not how it's going to be. I'm not going to wait until this woman has, done this to me, 2 or 3 more times, and I'm passive and I'm powerless in the process. No, I'm going to choose proactively to say, this is not a good fit. I'm going to gracefully let myself out. Yeah. I'm going to step out the door. I'm going to step out into the cold. I'm going to make the hard choice that leads me. It's not an easy road, but at least it's a road that I'm in the driver's seat on as I head down.
Right. And so that is great advice. And to what you started that off with, which was women just build and operate in community more than men do. It's just a natural thing for them. So that's why it's seemingly that they're recovering much quicker after divorce or getting in relationships or making friend groups again. It just kind of happens naturally for them. I think part of that is that they do have that supportive safety net with community. Like you said, even if they lose their community through divorce, they find another community relatively quickly or build another community relatively quickly. For guys, and that's one of the things we get in our group calls, a lot of the stuff like, all my friends are gone, nobody calls me back. I thought they would have my back. Like we take it as an affront. And I try to explain that the problem is it's not you as the dad that's going through this. It's that society doesn't really have a formalized way for us to go through divorce, and so right. So usually it falls upon each individual and their emotional IQ as to how well they can traverse this. And nobody's really been taught this. So that's why usually it just ends up 90% of your friends, 95% of your friends just end up going away. And then you got to find new ones, which is harder for guys in general, just because of our masculine design. But then at this age and with kids and that becomes even more complicated. So I say all that to say what you just described then, because we are trying to rebuild that. And then we've got in the back of our mind all of these doubts. It's like, well, maybe I don't want to walk away from this. Like, I don't have anything else and I'm lonely, et cetera, blah, 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 which is why it's absolutely critical to surround yourself with other guys. So until we set up socially some halfway houses for divorced people, exactly. Where you go into it, you're halfway in between, married life and single life. You have some kind of a social worker or parole officer, that's helping you transition back into normal civilian single life. Until these things are in place. Yeah, it is so tough to find it. And I think if we just ask ourselves, if we hear a woman say, yeah, I'm a single mom, recently divorced, and you hear a man say, well, I'm a single dad and I'm recently divorced, our hearts go out naturally to that woman in much, much more quickly to welcome her in and support her than it does towards the dad. Yes.
It just does. That sucks.
It's only because it's societal messaging. That's all it is, which leads me, and I'm sorry, did you want to finish the
go for
point on that? Well, which leads me to my last point about this whole damaged goods idea, which is you're not like, I want to use the used car analogy. This is the best way is you're not a wreck. You are a certified approved, like pre-owned vehicle, right? Like that you can have somebody can have confidence in. So it's a shift in the mindset. The problem is we don't get that stamp, that certified pre-owned stamp, and we don't have billboards up of single fatherhood as a superpower and all the stuff like women do, right? Like women have done a good job with other women and lifting them up with that.
Yeah.
And society has, which is a good thing, right? We're not diminishing that. We have not done that with single dads. So you're not going to hear that. You'll hear that from Dallas and I. You'll hear that in our communities, our respective communities, when we're talking with you. But that's also why it's really, really important to get involved with men communities, men's groups, church, like men's church, like whatever it is, like men's. Surround yourself with other men, because then you're having those conversations. You're seeing it with other men, and that's where it's going to start to sink in. Is like, I'm not a wreck. Like we talked about, hey, Jude's got his challenges, Dallas has got his challenges, but hey, we've got a lot of good stuff going on here.
Well, and also when you find that community, when you find that group, I've chosen to embrace this new path, and I'm looking for men to do it with me. Yes, you are certified, you are pre-owned, but you also want to be refurbished. You want to be renewed. You want to be brought back as close to, factory specs and cleanliness and performance. And like you want to go through that. And that requires you bringing yourself back up to those standards in order to do it. And, going it alone, one of the interesting things about status, but to echo back to last week's discussion, is status is useful because it gives us a way to kind of know how well we're doing. Because we have some kind of reference point with other people, and we're like, well, am I doing better or worse? That's one of the healthy sides, to competition, is it helps us know where we are. With no point of reference, I have no idea how good or bad I'm doing relative, unless I'm just comparing with myself. The minute you join a community, the minute you are with other single dads and you're hearing other stories, one of the benefits, in addition to the emotional and psychological support, one of the huge benefits is you now have reference points to see whether or not you're improving, you're making progress, you're getting to where you want to be. Reference points, and that's tough for guys because we tend to be, like lone wolves, at least in the beginning, until we find a good pack. Yeah. But part of the reason for the pack is so that we have reference points to be able to identify where we are on our journey and whether or not we're advancing on it.
Yeah, and I want to. Is a tremendous insight, and I want to add to that. It used to be a lot easier when we had more of a like a family dynamic where we had grandfathers and fathers, and even if there was strains and difficulties, like you still had your pack. It was there. We've kind of isolated ourselves in our society now, where our families go off and live further away from extended family, et cetera. And then like a lot of guys that come into the communities, I moved all the way here for a job or family and everything, and now I'm all alone. And so that's why it takes a conscientious effort on our part to have to go and seek that. And it might mean that you find a group you don't feel quite comfortable with. You might find another one that's okay, but you got to keep trying to do it until you find it, because it is really, really important. But that takes vulnerability. It takes effort. It takes get out of the basement, right? Like you got to get out of the basement. You got to get out there, whatever it is, and find that group. Because I can tell you, once you start doing that, so this was true for me. Once I started to do that and found a core of guys that I knew that I was going to be talking to every week, that I could share stuff with, like things totally changed. My mindset totally changed.
And let me just add one more benefit to that. Women want to know that you're not in isolation.
Yeah.
Women want to know that if they hitch their wagon to your wagon, your cart, whatever, if they decide to join forces with you, they want to know that you're not the only person coming to the table. They want to know that you have a crew with you, of men and women, but especially men. They also want to know that you're socialized. They also want to know that she isn't going to be the sole provider of your social interactions. I know you have your kids, but she wants to know that she's not the only other adult in your life.
Right.
And a lot of times guys aren't necessarily thinking about this, but I can guarantee you that women are. Women want to know that you are inviting them into a larger social circle that is bigger and stronger than any one single man. They're not really interested in meeting a man who is totally isolated and doesn't have a strong social network.
Yeah, and if you're just orbiting around her, that's going to last like not very long. Right. And then you become incredibly unattractive to her. Mm-hmm. and it's going to end, guys. So if you want something long term, if you want a woman to just be continually attracted to you, you need to surround yourself with other guys. It seems counterintuitive. A little bit, guys, but it is absolutely positively true. And if you talk to other women, like I know Dallas does a lot of that, and I have to some extent too. If you talk to other women, they're going to tell you that. Like Dallas just said, they're gonna if you ask them, be like open with me, because then we think, well, we don't want it to get in our way. They want you. They want to see that you are doing other things. They want to see that you have other hobbies. They want to see that you have a world and interests, and that's what's attracting them, and that you're on this adventure in life, right? Yeah. The one commonality, Dallas, and tell me if you agree with this, between men and women and masculine and feminine natures, I feel that nobody talks about, which I think is the biggest thing, is the sense and desire and want for adventure. Of life being an adventure. Like, I think all the differences aside, the one thing that brings us together is adventure in life. Do you agree with that?
I agree with that. And I believe that that's true, because when we're on adventure, we feel alive.
Right.
I think men and women, we want to feel stimulated. We want to feel like we've woken up. And when you're out on an adventure, this is why most people list travel, is one of their favorite things to do. Mm-hmm. The thing about travel is it's a consumer product. You're spending money, a lot of money, going out and having these stimulating adventures that make you feel alive. That's awesome. You don't have to spend a lot of money to have a sense of adventure. You really don't. I think one of the distinguishing qualities between men and women on that adventure is that as much as it terrifies us as a man, going on that adventure and coming back alive, and we had to face the fear, like, really makes us feel like a man. It really lights us up. Yeah. And there's an aspect to women where they also feel that, but I think women love being invited to come on an adventure. Yes. And they know they're going to be safe on that adventure. Mm-hmm. Men, we don't know entirely if we're going to be safe. And that's part of the thrill, that when we come back, we're like fist bumping, and we feel like we grew a size inside of ourselves. Yep. I'm not sure women necessarily that's what they want the most. I think if somebody says, hey, I've got this adventure I'm going on. Do you want to hop in the car? Let's go. And she's like, great, let me grab some snacks first. I think that's how most women like to experience an adventure. Sure. Is that they don't have, they're riding shotgun, and they get to, just freely enjoy it spontaneously. Yeah, they're going to get an exhilaration just in a different way. And when I finally figured this out, I can't tell you the number of times. And like you said, it wasn't necessarily like going on a trip to Bora Bora or something like that. It could have been an adventure into the mountains, or taking them to a place, or a hike, or somewhere. The number of times that women have said, oh, I didn't think I was going to enjoy that, but that was really a lot of fun. Yeah. Yeah. Right. And this goes to that mindset of creating direction, right? Creating the direction, taking charge, and then moving her through this adventure, through your life, exposing her to the stuff like Dallas always says, inviting her into something that she may have never experienced before, because it's going to be a whole new world to her. So if you feel like, well, I got to find stuff to do that she likes to do, or she like, stop trying to think, like, stop, just design your life. Find your hobbies, do your interesting things. It doesn't mean don't take feedback from her once you start dating and stuff that she might like to do and whatnot, but invite her into the cool ass life that you have created. Right. So, that, and man, that's just going to make her hot. Yeah. All of the time. So, it will. It really, really will. So fill me in here. So when I'm a single dad, and I'm trying to think about inviting, a woman out on an adventure. What are some of the doubts that are coming into my mind? I know what they are for like just single dudes in general, but what are some of the doubts specifically for a single dad that are going to creep into his mind, that are going to what's the word? Sabotage, they're going to be pulling on that brake the entire time rather than hitting the gas.
Yeah. I think the doubt is, well, she's not going to like this, so she's not going to like me, so she's not going to want to get together again.
Okay, well, that's no different than every other single guy out there.
Right. No, it's exactly the same. We've just got all more like baggage or more stuff in the closet that we think that once we open that up, then that's going to be that'll be the final thing. So then we're not upfront about our kids, or we don't list our height, or like stupid stuff. We've got more challenges, and we're gonna and things where the feedback, where you want to call it, people call it failure, I call it feedback, right? That have created doubts in our minds. So it is all, you're exactly right, and I appreciate the point. It is all the same doubts that everybody has. We just have more of them, and we're gonna get to some of these practical steps to shake this. But one of them that I'll say is, some of the most successful business people have had catastrophic business failures before their massive success.
Yes,
and I think when we're in our business world, lots of guys like just accept that and know, okay, yeah, I've been bankrupt, or this business failed, or but we don't think that in our personal life. And I want guys to reframe that. Yeah, okay, you got a divorce, or maybe two, or maybe three. Okay, hopefully not. But like, there's lots of businessmen that have had two or three failures before they hit it really big. Yeah. That's the mindset change you've got to have. Yeah.
I don't remember who this salesman was, but he was like one of the big ones, like one of the really famous ones. And he was being interviewed, and they were also talking about his relationship with his wife, because he has this beautiful wife. It sounded like he kind of landed, a very attractive woman kind of out of his league a little bit, And they asked him, they're like, how do you do this? How do you, make all these sales and, this beautiful woman and everything? And his answer was, I swing a lot.
Yeah.
And I thought that was just the most basic, primal, no way around it answer that there is. He's, and what I think, he went on to explain this, that when he says I swing a lot, he's saying, obviously I hit it sometimes. But he misses more than he hits it.
Right.
But the fact that he swings a lot means he gets to hit a lot of balls, and that's really what we're totaling up at the end of the day, is how many wins did I get? And if you're being too careful about how often you swing, about where you swing, about in what domains you swing, if you're always, pulling it back and you're not following through, if you're not swinging a lot in life, you're not going to hit anything.
Yes.
You're not going to land the connections and crack, send that ball out of the park the way we all dream of inside of our hearts.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Michael Jordan has the saying, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, something like that. Yep. Right. Like shoot your shot, shoot your shot, and shoot a lot of them, and shoot nonstop. Because that's how you're going to get to the level that you want to get. Okay, so let's do this, Dallas, to finish out. To help this reframe in their mind, I want us to dive a little bit deeper into what we talked about last week, which is the biological reality of what they're bringing to the table, the safety, the security, the provisioning. Because guys, if you didn't listen to last week's episode and you're just tuning in for the first time this week, there's an evolutionary lens from which men and women operate, okay? And it's happened for thousands of years. And female mate selection has prioritized
I'm sorry, can you...
that. Are they? They're shooting their shot, my friend. They got their jackhammers out and they're going for it.
I thought they moved down the building.
That's okay.
We're going to play through this. Hopefully it won't be too bad.
Okay. Maybe it's going to happen every time we make a real point. We'll get the jackhammer noise. All right. We'll try to play it that way. But this has been happening for forever. They have prioritized protection and resource stability. So the proof of concept around this whole thing with us divorced dads back in that marketplace is marriage proves you are capable of commitment, right? You're not a flight risk. So that's number one. Fatherhood, number two, proves you have biological and emotional hardware to protect and provide for something more important to yourself. And I also want to make the point that I love that you made, and actually I'll have you make it, about the fact that you're pre-selected because you're a minority of man that has spread his seed. Yeah. Actually, that's a great sound to have, like the jackhammer thing. God, yeah, it's very masculine, but just as we're talking about spreading your seed, the jackhammer is going.
I'm going to apologize. I thought this part of they are renovating in my complex right now, and we thought last week they were done with it. Apparently,
that's okay. You can barely hear it.
All the listeners out there. Hopefully, it's not going to be too much more. But yes, only 40% of all the males in the history of Homo sapiens have had the opportunity and the privilege and successfully procreated. So if you're a dad, you're in the minority of men that succeeded in survival. Be proud of that. I'm not sure we know entirely what all of it is that goes into it, what all the different pieces are, but you are higher status because you're surviving. You're passing on your genetic material. That's status. All the men that, died in wars or famine or in the field or whatever it was and never got to procreate, there's no question in anyone's mind that they are unfortunately much lower status. They are.
Yep.
The fact that you're a dad means that you made it, whether by good management or good luck, you managed to make this happen. And that jackhammer is here for you, my man.
So
for you to drive that point home.
And it's a really important one to drive home. And actually I looked up what it's called. Mate choice copying is the psychological concept, mate choice copying. And it's the fact that you were married and are a father, and that acts as a social seal of approval. It tells other women, another woman found this man worthy of her life and her children. So fellas, that is you can't, we talked about that. That's
the gold standard.
Yeah, that pre-owned, certified pre-owned stamp of approval thing. This is it, right, for you in the dating world. This is your this is your pre-owned certification when you show up that 60% of the other men in the world have to mitigate, like Dallas has to mitigate, that you show up with when you're on either a dating profile, in person, when you meet her, or you say, I was married and I have kids. That's it. One sentence. I was married and have kids. That's it. That's your certification.
Yeah, it's totally true. And yeah, it's you've been vetted, you've been approved, inspection, inspector number, whatever, slap their sticker on you and said, yes, this is ready to ship this one out the door. We decided, me and all the other women decided this one should procreate. This one should have a baby. They all decided that. And, and when you bring that out into the world, the women know that. And they look at it and they think, okay, well, this guy must be bringing something substantial to the table in order for that to happen. The question is, as a single dad, do you embrace that yourself?
Right.
Don't leave that on, it's like the women did it, but now you need to own that. You need to make that a permanent part of your post-marriage identity.
Exactly. Yeah. And so you just that is just built in, guys, and they don't know, and they may not they may not know it consciously. This might not be something that's registering consciously, guys. So it's not like she's gonna be like, oh, Jude, that's great. You're pre-vet, you show up on the used car lot and it's got the sticker, and she's not going to this isn't coming through consciously, right? This is something that's subconsciously then giving you an advantage. So just know it's not like they're going to be like, oh, that's the shiniest, nicest one I like because it's got that sticker on it. It's not happening. It's happening subconsciously.
Yeah. And if you want to picture that paint, if you want a clear picture of how that subconscious works, think about either being in a library or being in a playground. The dads with kids, the women are going to feel more safe around them in those environments.
Mm-hmm.
The adult men like me that show up and don't have a kid, they are not coming over to me and feeling all relaxed and safe. They're like, well, what's this guy after? What's he sniffing around for? The guy that has the kid, we trust men with children with them. We just do. Men that don't have children, we don't know what they're up to. We don't know what they're doing with all those hours in their day. We really don't. You look at those situations and you realize that, if something were to happen, or just socially speaking, the women are going to relax and feel safer around the men with children.
Yes.
They might be stating, or they might even be writing on their profiles, or consciously thinking and saying other things. But the truth is, the behavior, what is it? The stated preferences versus revealed preferences.
Mm-hmm.
The body language communicates the real truth of it. They're going to spend more time around the guys that have kids around them because they know they're more established and trustworthy.
Yeah. The safety factor is huge for women. They operate in a completely different reality in the world than men do. And one of those primal ones that is a need is safety. And you've already, like Dallas said, have that built in because you have kids, because you nurture kids, because you take care of kids. The example is a beautiful one, the playground or the library or whatever. If you have you got a single guy sitting on the park bench at the park, and a dad who's with his kids. The woman's going to sit or be inclined to be engaged with the single dad, right? It's just again, it's not conscious. It's a subconscious thing again, guys.
Yeah. And, and part of that comes into the fact that she assumes there's a woman around. Until she knows more, she assumes that there's other women around, which is also part of the safety. She assumes that there. And then when there is the potentially pleasant surprise that, no, actually, I'm single, she's already feeling safe. And then there's the opening and the opportunity. A guy that's by himself, we pretty much assume that he's probably single, when there's no other outward signs. And so she's immediately kind of got the guard up, because she has to protect herself.
Yeah. We should do an episode on day game with your kids.
we touched on that slightly before, but
we did touch on that, and it's got me thinking more. But I've got teens, so that could blow up the whole thing. It's got me thinking more of how I can do that around my teens and actually have fun. I think it would be a blast, because I think they would be, Dad, are you hitting on somebody with us here? And I could be like, yeah, why not? I think that'd be a lot of fun. So maybe I'll field test some of it, and then maybe we can do an episode on day game with kids. That would be kind of fun. Man, it's like, in thinking about this, Dallas, and now we're getting totally off topic, guys. This is just a sidebar. The utilization or the underutilization of kids in your game, it's like non-existent. You could write a book about it, and I think it would be tremendously successful. And I think dads would be tremendously successful by implementing it. But
Dude, it sounds like a collaboration that we can throw out there.
Okay.
It's
a $1 million idea.
It is. Like back in the old days, you used to have kids so that you had free labor on the farm. Nowadays, you have kids so that if you get a divorce, it's a little easier to get a date.
Another date. Okay.
Not the way we want to look at it, but fun to laugh about.
Hey, we speak the truth on this show. So, All right, more truths. Reclaiming your value as that vetted man already, that you just got this built-in certified pre-owned stamp of approval, the competence factor. Okay. You've got a lot going on. Hopefully you got a job or a business or whatever. If you're not, you probably shouldn't be dating, but you're working, you're in a good financial place. You've got a household. You've been divorced. You've got a co-parenting schedule that you handle. Like, you are handling life like a boss, right? Like more of a boss than a single dude that has no kids. You are like way, way more competent, even if you don't feel like you're handling it that well, or if your kids are acting out or whatever, you are a step above.
You're management level now.
Yeah. That's
your
a good
management
way to put it.
level. You're no longer doing one job in the warehouse, driving the forklift, stacking the boxes, checking the invoices. You are management level because you are now running a much more complex operation.
Yes.
Own it.
Own it.
Step into it, own it.
Exactly. Like, and on that level, on that management level, you have a greater emotional maturity. Okay. Unlike when you were in your 20s, or any 20-year-old these days, probably even worse these days. A divorced dad's you've been through the fire, right? So you've learned how to communicate. You know how to deal with setbacks. You know how to prioritize your life. You have to know how to prioritize your life. And those are big deals in a relational context with somebody else. So
I'm gonna just continue with the analogies. You're now a veteran who's been in a combat zone.
Here you go.
You have come back from war, and we treat veterans, especially veterans that have been deployed overseas in combat. We thank them for their service because they've been places, they've faced things. Their dreams are different than the rest of us who have never been in a war zone before. You're a veteran, you've been through battle and you've survived, and you're attempting to reassimilate into normal civilian life. Mm-hmm. Realize that people are going to see you differently. You've been through stuff that other guys that have never been deployed into marriage have not been through. They haven't been deployed through fatherhood. They haven't been through that. That first 12, 18 months is rough for everybody. That forges you. You realize, sleep is a whole different game before and after that 12 months. You see it differently. It's just like being a veteran who's been deployed. You come back, you see life differently, you appreciate life differently, and you wouldn't want to hide the fact, that you've been through this life-altering experience. If you were a veteran, you don't want to hide that. You maybe don't necessarily tell everybody as the first thing out of the gate,
or the gory details.
Right. But it's a core part of your identity. And again, I love this concept of identity because all of our behavior, all of our values, all of our interactions from people ultimately, in my opinion, come back to our identity.
Yes.
All of it just streams out of it naturally. You're a veteran and a manager. These are both parts of your identity.
Yeah. And they're all things that are worthy of and do garner admiration from women. And you talked about that last week.
Yeah. If you realize that you admire it in yourself first.
Exactly. Yes.
If you can't go, oh, well, the world should respect this. The world should admire it. Boy, that jackhammer. We have to.
I can hardly hear it.
Sorry. Okay, good. We have to. It's loud over here.
Yeah.
As a single dad, we have to own it and admire it about ourselves. We have to embrace it and really, we have to shine through it as part of our identity. If we're waiting for other people to admire it about us, that's never really going to sell it. We're the ones that have to really embrace it in order for us to get our full dues. I'm saying us. I'm pretending I'm a dad. Mm-hmm. In order to get the full dues and full benefits of what you've been through.
Yeah. Well, and women who are looking for long-term stability want all of this, right? Yes. They want these. I'm going to call them premium traits, right? These are premium traits in. These are premium traits in men that women look for in mate selection that you already have proven that you have. Again, you're not going back to this whole thing. You don't have to show up, unfortunately, like Dallas, and have to jump through these hurdles to prove this stuff. And it's not like it's just the God's honest truth, right? Like there is a whole there's a whole segment of what you need to do as a single non-dad or a single non-married non-dad, right? That you've got to mitigate before I do. And it's just, just how it is. It's not denigrating Dallas. It's not uplifting me. It's just how it is. And it's just because of my experience.
Yeah. Like you said, if I can simply say I'm a single divorced dad, that's the statement, full stop. And then they're like, okay, so where are you in your life now? I don't have a single statement like that.
Right.
That communicates the same information. I have to jump through more hoops, explain more. I really do. There's another piece to this actually. And, it's funny. I'm thinking about, some of the older expressions that I really, really like. And one of the ones that we need to bring it back to. This needs to be brought back into society. It's like the only, I barely heard it growing up as a child. I think it was even the generation before me that said this. But when someone was faced with a challenge, something they didn't want to do, what would that older person say? It builds character.
Builds character, right?
That's what we used to say. And it was an ironic thing, that you would say. And it's like, it's sort of like, well, here's what you're really going to get out of this. And, and it's sort of joking, but it's really true. It's struggle and adversity that builds character.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, one of the biggest struggles that any man can have in his life is, to be married, then go through divorce and raise a child in the process. Okay. Being a divorced dad builds character.
Yes.
And if there is one thing in this modern society that we are severely lacking, it is character.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
These are premium traits. They are premium traits.
Rare. Yes. This is, this is gold here, to have a strong character and for you to own this, not that you're trying to, boast it or you're trying to convince anyone, but you own it inside of you and you wear it as part of your suit.
Yes.
This is, or part of your uniform. Every woman's attracted to a man in a uniform, or just about all of them, that your character is part of the uniform that you want to show. Realize that compared to the other guys that have not gone, they haven't gone through the struggles that build character, whether you liked it or not, doesn't matter. It built character in the process.
Yes.
Own that, bring that up consciously. Don't say that to a woman as you in comparison to other men. Like that's not necessary. Just realize that you have a depth of character. You have more growth in your quality of character as a result.
Right. Which leads me into the practical steps to help you remove those doubts, dads, which the first one is what Dallas is saying is stop leading with an apology. Don't start apologizing for your kids. Like own this as part of your character. This is a premium trait. The other is the quality filter. Women, there will be women, okay, that are going to feel like your fatherhood might be a burden. Okay, that's fine. They're going to filter themselves out and thank them. Actually, buy them flowers and say thank you for not wasting my time, right? Because it's just not the woman that you want in your life. There's nothing wrong with it, but like that's not your target audience. Okay, so that's good. And then the last part is your self-investment. You're vetted and just continuing to be able to provide that premium trait. I like the word premium trait, right? That to me, those premium traits is that certified pre-owned stamp of approval, right? You've got these premium traits. So keep that safety and security that you offer, but you got to do that through maintaining your finances, your mental health, your fitness, etc. So if you keep showing up, like you've got these premium traits, you're battle tested, like Dallas said, now you got to keep utilizing these to just continue to build in your life and on your life so that you can do what we talked about earlier, which is the invitations into this amazing life, or like Dr. Glover says, then you can invite her to be the icing on this awesome life cake that you've created, to where she's in an adventure, and every time she shows up, she's like, man, like she's not even thinking about all the premium traits and the safety and security, because that's already a base level. Now she's having an experience in her life with a divorced dad who's got all these traits that she's never, ever experienced before in her life. And dude, that is amazing.
Yeah. I want to repeat what you said because it is so, so valuable. If you show up feeling you need to apologize.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I mean, that is just, it's the opposite of masculine. It's the opposite of sexy. It's you're basically, you're apologizing. You're more or less asking for their pity, their
approval.
Comfort.
Yeah.
Their approval. You're asking it. Yeah. Showing up with an apology in your heart and in your mind. I would say that's the real crux that you want to turn around. How do I turn these things that I feel that I have to apologize for? How do I turn them around? And I think we've really done a pretty good job in this episode. Turn them around and realize, apologize? No, these are badges of honor that I earned the hard way. And that I'm proud of, and that on a social basis, from an evolutionary standpoint, and just from a practical standpoint, these are things to be proud of, not apologize for. And it is not easy for us to, when the train's facing the wrong direction inside of us, it is hard to turn that sucker around, and get it facing in the right direction. But it's not complicated. It's pretty simple. Stop apologizing for what you are, and start seeing how what you are is premium. These are premium qualities.
Right. The picture that came to my mind when you were talking about that is scars. Dudes love scars. I don't know. Like when I've got scars from hockey fights and stuff from years and years ago. And sometimes they're subtle and people notice them. I love talking about that. Like you've got these battle scars that have built character on you. And so women love, like women think scars are sexy. Like, I don't know what it is, but they think, are cool. So just understand, survived. You're not starting over. You are starting from experience. All of those, all of what you think might be a blemish or a scar is something that is attractive, that has helped you to build these premium traits, give you that certified, pre-owned stamp of approval that she's going to just find sexy. And you're starting ahead of 60% of the men that are out there, guys. Like, just know you're going out there. You've got an advantage already over 60% of the men. That alone makes me get excited right now and say, damn, I want to go shoot my shot today. Like I want to go take some swings, swings for the fences or whatever, shots on goal, like whatever, man. I want to go out there because like it's stacked in my advantage. Like everything is stacked in my advantage, guys. It's truly stacked in your advantage. I'm just trying to help you see and understand that. It doesn't mean you're not going to get rejected. It just means that like everybody's going to get rejected, right? Like, doesn't mean if you're single or like everything, but you've got way more, if you're a gambler, you've got way more probability of success now. Like you're working from a place of experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're going to, when you swing a lot, you're going to miss a lot, but you're going to hit a lot more than you currently are when you barely swing.
Yep, exactly.
That's how the math plays out. Yeah.
Okay, I've got a challenge for the dads listening this week that I want to put out there that will help you to maybe start with this mindset shift. And that is to write down. So hopefully you're doing some journaling. If you're not into journaling, get into journaling. It's a really, really fun, fantastic tool to help you mentally and emotionally. I want you to write down 3 things that you've provided your kids this week that prove that you are a man of safety and security. Okay, because these are the primal things that women are wanting. You already have them. This is a premium trait. You just don't know that you have them. I want you to write down 3 things that you provided for your kids that prove that you provide safety and security for your kiddos.
And let me tack on one little piece. Once you write that down, once you have that in place, realize that it would be ridiculous for you to apologize for this.
Absolutely.
You should not be apologizing. You should be feeling proud of it.
Yep.
And you have to let that sink in, sit with it. Like it's sort of that whole, the whole exercise where you have to look in the mirror and not break eye contact with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You got to let it in. This is one of those things. These are not things that you should be diminishing or putting to the side, and definitely not apologizing for.
Yep.
To the contrary, these are things you want to let soak in. You want to let it become part of your identity. You want to become proud of it. And as a result, you start to feel more powerful as a result.
Amen. All right, gentlemen, hopefully we did a good job of demonstrating and sharing with you the absolute reason that you have such status out there in the dating world. If you found some value in what we shared with you today, please share this episode far and wide. Give us a star rating. Even better, pause for just 1 minute and write us a comment. It makes the algorithms go crazy. It will help other guys to download, which is continuing to uptick every single week. Thank you for the new listeners in here. A reminder, we have got the in-person here in Denver Metro Q&A, live Q&A with Dallas. He's given some free time. We're going to be doing some in the field Q&A with Dallas with women around. It's going to be phenomenal. That's coming up here February 19th. So just in a couple of weeks here. So don't miss that. You can get all the details at thedivorceddadvocate.com on our events page. And then Dallas, when do you have like your next cohort going or your next meeting going at Black Box Dating?
Every Wednesday night, we have our weekly mastermind session. It's happening all the time. You can jump on over to blackboxdating.com and sign up. You get a 14-day free trial, so you can check it out, see whether or not it's a good fit for you. But even better than that would be to come out to us. I believe we're doing it at View House in Denver here. To come on out, and particularly if you're still looking for that community, if you're still looking for your halfway house, so to speak, as a divorced dad.
Let's call it an incubator. I don't like halfway house.
Okay.
That means it sounds like you were a criminal and now you're coming out of.
Okay. Well, I guess that means Jude and I, we're not parole officers either.
No, we're not.
But if you're looking for that community to provide the support and the structure and to help get to help rewrite the doubtful apologetic scripts inside of you.
Yeah.
And transform them into the things that you should be respecting, admiring about yourself. There's nothing like doing it in person to make that happen. So we hope to see you guys out there on Thursday. And Jude, it's been another awesome episode. Can't wait to have our next one next week.
Yes, my friend. Take care.
Be the hero of your own movie. If your life was a movie, and it started now. Forget about whatever financial disasters you've had, personal failures, relationship failures. What would the hero of your life's movie do right now?